Your emotions are not interruptions to your life. They are not problems to be solved or weaknesses to be hidden. Every feeling that moves through you carries wisdom, carries truth, carries a piece of your beautiful, complex humanity. And yet so many of us have learned to treat our emotions like unwelcome guests, shutting the door before they can even speak their names. We've been taught to smile through sadness, to suppress anger, to rush past grief, to apologize for tears. We've learned to say, "I'm fine," when our hearts are breaking, to push forward when our souls are asking us to rest. This morning or this evening, wherever you find yourself right now, I want to offer you a different way. I want to remind you of something you may have forgotten, that honoring your emotions with compassion is one of the most powerful acts of self-love you will ever practice. There is a weight we carry when we deny what we feel. It settles in the shoulders, tightens in the jaw, creates a heaviness in the chest that no amount of distraction can truly lift. You might notice it right now as you bring your awareness inward, that subtle tension, that guarding, that holding. We do this so automatically, so habitually, that we often don't realize we're doing it at all. From the time we were very young, many of us received messages about which emotions were acceptable and which were not. Perhaps you were told that big boys don't cry, or that good girls don't get angry. Perhaps you learned that your sadness made others uncomfortable, or that your excitement was too much. Perhaps you discovered that love felt safer when you kept your true feelings carefully managed and controlled. These early lessons took root deep in the psyche, and they shaped how you relate to your inner world today. But here is the truth that wants to come forward now. Every emotion you experience is valid. Every feeling that arises in you has a right to exist. Sadness is not a sign of weakness. Anger is not something to be ashamed of. Fear does not mean you lack faith. Joy does not need to be dampened to make others comfortable. Your emotions are the language of your soul, and they deserve to be heard. They deserve to be welcomed. They deserve your compassion. When you give yourself permission to feel what you feel without judgment, without trying to change it or fix it or make it go away, something miraculous begins to happen. The tight grip of control starts to soften. The exhausting effort of maintaining a false calm begins to ease. You start to come home to yourself in a way that feels both vulnerable and incredibly liberating. This permission to feel is not something you need to earn. It is your birthright. It belongs to you simply because you are alive, simply because you are human. You do not need to have a good enough reason for your sadness. You do not need to justify your anger. You do not need to prove that your anxiety is warranted or that your grief is appropriate. Your emotions do not require your mind's approval before they are allowed to exist. They simply are. And in this moment, you can practice saying yes to what is true for you right now. You can take a breath and acknowledge that whatever you are feeling is completely okay. If there is sadness, you can say, "I see you, sadness. You are welcome here." If there is frustration, you can say, "I feel you, frustration. I'm listening." If there is joy bubbling up, you can let it rise without holding back. This is the beginning of honoring yourself with compassion. Your body already knows how to do this. Your body has never lied to you about what you feel. While the mind can rationalize and minimize and convince you that everything is fine, the body holds the honest truth. It speaks in sensation, in temperature, in movement and stillness. When you feel anxious, you might notice your heart beating faster, your breath becoming shallow, a flutter in your belly. When you feel sad, you might sense a heaviness in your chest, a fullness behind your eyes, a slowness in your limbs. When you feel angry, there might be heat rising, muscles tightening, energy gathering. Your body is always communicating with you, always offering you information about your emotional landscape. And when you learn to listen to this honest language, you create a bridge between your thinking mind and your feeling heart. Take a moment right now to notice what your body is telling you. Where do you feel sensation? Is there tightness anywhere? Is there warmth or coolness? Is there an area that feels open and relaxed, or an area that feels contracted and guarded? You don't need to change anything. You don't need to fix anything. Simply notice. Simply listen. This act of listening is itself a form of compassion. You are saying to your body, to your emotions, I am here with you. I am paying attention. You matter to me. And in that simple act of presence, something begins to shift. The emotion doesn't need to be so loud anymore because it knows it has been heard. The tension doesn't need to be so tight anymore because it knows it has been acknowledged. Your body begins to trust that you are no longer abandoning yourself, that you are no longer pushing away the very parts of you that most need your love. This compassionate witnessing is different from the way you may have been taught to handle emotions. It is not about analyzing why you feel what you feel. It is not about finding solutions or making the feeling go away. It is simply about being with what is, without resistance, without judgment, without trying to rush to the other side. Imagine sitting beside a dear friend who is going through something difficult. You wouldn't tell them to stop crying or to think positive thoughts or to get over it already. You would simply sit with them. You would hold space for their experience. You would let them know through your presence that they are not alone. This is the quality of presence you can offer yourself. You can be the compassionate witness to your own emotional experience. You can hold yourself with the same tenderness you would offer someone you deeply love. When you practice this gentle witnessing, you might notice that emotions begin to move differently. They rise, they peak, they begin to soften and release. They no longer get stuck in the same way they once did. Because emotions are meant to move. The word emotion itself contains the root motion. Feelings are designed to flow through you like weather patterns moving across the sky. But when you resist them, when you judge them, when you try to push them away, you interrupt their natural movement. You create a dam in the river, and the emotion has no choice but to gather and pool and create pressure. This is when feelings become overwhelming. This is when they seem to take over your entire life. Not because the emotion itself is too much, but because it has been blocked from its natural path of expression and release. Many of us have learned to fear our emotions because we believe that if we really let ourselves feel, we will fall apart. We believe that if we let the sadness out, we will cry forever. We believe that if we acknowledge the anger, it will consume us. We believe that if we admit the fear, it will prove that we are not strong enough. But the opposite is true. It is the unfelt emotions that have power over us. It is the suppressed feelings that leak out in unexpected ways, that color our relationships, that create tension in our bodies, that keep us from fully living. When you honor your emotions with compassion, when you give them permission to be felt and expressed in healthy ways, they complete their cycle. They move through, they transform, and you discover that you are far stronger and far more resilient than you ever imagined. There is an old story that wants to be released from your consciousness. It is the story that says certain emotions are wrong, that some feelings make you a bad person, that you should be ashamed of what you experience inside. This story was likely given to you by people who were themselves afraid of emotion, who had also learned to suppress and deny their inner worlds. But it is not your story. It never was. It was inherited, passed down like an uncomfortable heirloom that you can now choose to set aside. You can write a new story, one that says all of your emotions are acceptable, all of your feelings are part of your humanity, all of your inner experiences deserve compassion. This new story honors the truth that you are not meant to be a sanitized, controlled version of yourself. You are meant to be fully alive, fully feeling, fully human. Anger, in particular, is an emotion that many people struggle to honor. Perhaps you learned that anger is dangerous, that it is destructive, that it makes you a difficult or unlovable person. But anger apiai kai, simply energy. It is life force. It is often the part of you that says, "This is not okay," or "My boundaries have been crossed," or "Something needs to change." When you suppress your anger, you suppress your power. You lose touch with your ability to protect yourself, to stand up for what matters, to create healthy boundaries in your relationships. Honoring anger with compassion means allowing yourself to feel it fully in your body, to acknowledge what it is telling you, and then to choose how you want to respond. It does not mean lashing out or harming others. It means respecting the message your anger carries and using that energy in conscious, constructive ways. Sadness, too, deserves your compassion. We live in a culture that is deeply uncomfortable with sadness, that wants to cheer you up, fix you, pull you out of your dark moments as quickly as possible. But sadness is not a problem. It is a natural response to loss, to disappointment, to the tender places in your heart. Sadness asks you to slow down, to soften, to be gentle with yourself. It invites you to grieve what needs to be grieved, to acknowledge what has ended or changed or been lost. When you honor your sadness with compassion, you give yourself permission to cry, to rest, to wrap yourself in softness. You allow the tears to come without judging yourself as weak or broken. You understand that sadness is one of the ways your heart heals, one of the ways you process the experiences of being human. Fear, which so many people try to overcome or conquer or push through, is also worthy of compassion. Fear is your ancient protection system, the part of you that has kept you safe throughout your entire life. Sometimes fear is responding to real danger, and in those moments it serves you beautifully. Other times, fear is responding to old memories, to stories from the past, to possibilities that may never come to pass. But whether the fear is serving you in this moment or not, it deserves to be acknowledged. When you honor your fear with compassion, you can place a hand on your heart and say, "Thank you for trying to protect me. I see you, I hear you, and I am here to take care of myself." This compassionate acknowledgement allows the fear to soften. It no longer needs to shout to get your attention because it knows it has been heard. The healing power of simply acknowledging what you feel cannot be overstated. There is something almost magical that happens when you name your emotion, when you bring it into the light of your awareness and say, "This is what I am feeling right now." The emotion immediately begins to lose its power to control you. It no longer operates in the shadows. It no longer rules from beneath your conscious awareness. When you can say, "I feel anxious," or "I feel disappointed," or "I feel overwhelmed," You have already created a little bit of space between you and the feeling. You are no longer consumed by it. You are observing it. You are in relationship with it. And in that relationship, you have choice. You can ask the emotion what it needs. You can explore where it lives in your body. You can breathe into it, soften around it, allow it to be exactly as it is. You might try this practice right now. Bring your awareness inward and notice what you are feeling in this moment. Perhaps there is a primary emotion that is easiest to identify. Brahad is there are layers of different feelings all present at once. Without trying to change anything, simply name what you notice. You might say silently to yourself, I feel tired, or I feel peaceful, or I feel uncertain, or I feel grateful. And then notice what happens in your body when you name the feeling. Often there is an immediate sense of relief, a softening, a release of tension. This is because your emotion has been seen, it has been acknowledged, and in that acknowledgement, it can begin to move and shift and transform. Creating inner safety is essential to this practice of honoring your emotions with compassion. If your inner world feels like a harsh, critical, judgmental place, your emotions will continue to hide. They will continue to be suppressed because it is not safe for them to emerge. But when you cultivate an inner environment of warmth, acceptance, and compassion, your emotions know they can come forward. They know they will not be rejected. You become a safe haven for yourself. You can think of this as creating a compassionate inner sanctuary, a place inside you where every part of you is welcome, where nothing needs to be hidden or denied. In this sanctuary, there is room for joy and for sorrow, for confidence and for doubt, for peace and for anger. Everything belongs. Everything is held with love. Building this inner safety begins with the way you speak to yourself. Notice the voice in your head, the commentary that runs throughout your day. Is it kind? Is it supportive? Or is it harsh, critical, demanding? Many people have an inner voice that sounds like a strict parent or a cruel judge, constantly pointing out flaws, mistakes, inadequacies. This voice does not create safety. It creates fear and shame and the need to hide. You can begin to change this voice by consciously choosing words of compassion. When you notice yourself being self-critical, pause, take a breath, and speak to yourself the way you would speak to a beloved child. You might say, "It's okay, you're doing your best, I'm here with you." These simple words, offered with sincerity, begin to rewire your relationship with yourself. They create the safety that allows your emotions to be felt and honored. The exhaustion of constantly managing your emotions is real and profound. Think about how much energy it takes to maintain a brave face when you are falling apart inside. Think about the effort required to push down anger day after day, to smile through sadness, to pretend everything is fine when it is not. This is the cycle of suppression, and it is draining. It leaves you disconnected from yourself, disconnected from others, moving through life in a kind of emotional numbness. But there is another way. When you allow your emotions to move through you naturally, when you honor them with compassion rather than trying to control them, you discover a profound sense of freedom. You no longer need to spend your precious energy managing and suppressing. You can simply be. You can feel what you feel, express what needs to be expressed, and then return to center. This is the natural rhythm of emotional health, and it is so much lighter than the burden of constant control. Suppression also creates disconnect. In your relationships. When you are not honest with yourself about what you feel, you cannot be truly honest with others. You present a carefully curated version of yourself showing only the parts you deem acceptable. But this leaves others relating to a mask rather than to the real you. And deep down, you know that you are not truly seen, not truly known. The love and connection you receive feels conditional, contingent on your ability to maintain the performance. But when you begin to honor your emotions with compassion, when you allow yourself to be fully human in your own inner world, something shifts in your relationships as well. You become more authentic. You become more vulnerable. You allow others to see you as you truly are, emotions and all. And in that authenticity, real connection becomes possible. The people who love you get to love the real you, not just the version you thought you had to be. Your emotions exist on a full spectrum, and each one serves a purpose in your life. Joy is not more spiritual than sadness. Gratitude is not more evolved than anger. Peace is not superior to fear. They are all part of the rich tapestry of human experience. When you honor the full spectrum of your emotions with compassion, you give yourself permission to be complete. You no longer divide yourself into acceptable parts and unacceptable parts. You recognize that all of it is you, all of it is valuable, all of it deserves your love, and something beautiful happens when you stop rejecting parts of yourself. You become more whole. You become more integrated. You discover depths of resilience and wisdom and compassion that were always there but could not fully emerge while you were busy trying to be less than you are. Consider how joy becomes deeper and more meaningful when you have also allowed yourself to feel sorrow. It is the contrast that creates richness. It is the full range of experience that makes you capable of truly appreciating the good moments when they come. If you are always trying to stay in a narrow band of acceptable feelings, always trying to maintain positivity and avoid discomfort, you actually limit your capacity for joy as well. But when you open to the full spectrum, when you honor sadness as much as happiness, fear as much as courage, you become capable of experiencing life in all its colors. You become fully alive. And in that aliveness, there is a kind of peace that does not depend on circumstances. A peace that comes from accepting yourself exactly as you are in every moment. The same is true for anger and peace. Many people fear that if they allow themselves to feel anger, they will lose their sense of peace. But the opposite is true. When you suppress anger, it creates inner turbulence. It creates resentment and bitterness and a kind of simmering tension that never fully resolves. But when you honor anger with compassion, when you allow yourself to feel it fully and learn from what it is telling you, it completes its cycle. It moves through. And then peace can return, but it is a deeper peace, a more authentic peace, because it is not built on denial. It is built on wholeness. It is built on the truth that all of your emotions have a place, and none of them diminish your fundamental goodness or worthiness. Living as your own compassionate companion is not something you do once and complete. It is a daily practice, a moment-by-moment choice to turn toward yourself with kindness rather than criticism. It is choosing again and again to honor what you feel rather than to push it away. Some days this will feel easy and natural. Other days it will feel like is the hardest thing in the world. On the difficult days, be especially gentle with yourself. Remember that you are learning a new way of being, undoing years or decades of conditioning. Remember that compassion includes compassion for the times when you forget to be compassionate. This is not about perfection. This is about direction. Every time you pause and acknowledge what you are feeling, every time you speak kindly to yourself, every time you choose presence over avoidance, you are strengthening this new way of being. You can weave this practice into the ordinary moments of your life. When you wake in the morning, you might place a hand on your heart and ask, "How am I feeling today?" and simply listen to what arises without trying to change it. When you are moving through your day and notice tension in your body, you might pause for 3 breaths and send compassion to that place of tension. When something triggers frustration or sadness or anxiety, you might name it silently. This is frustration, and allow yourself to feel it for just a moment before deciding how to respond. When you lie down at night, you might reflect on the emotions you experienced during the day and thank yourself for allowing them, for being present with them, for honoring them with compassion. These small practices accumulate. They create a new baseline. They teach you that you are safe with yourself, that all of you is welcome, that nothing needs to be hidden or suppressed. And here is the beautiful ripple effect of this practice. When you honor your own emotions with compassion, you naturally become more compassionate toward others. You recognize that everyone is having their own inner experience. Everyone is feeling things that may not be visible on the surface. Everyone deserves the same compassion you are learning to give yourself. Your relationships soften, your judgments ease. You become more patient, more understanding, more able to hold space for others without needing to fix them or change them. You become a healing presence simply by being genuinely present. And the compassion you offer yourself radiates outward in ways you may never fully see, but that are deeply felt by those around you. This is not a quick fix. This is not a technique to make difficult emotions go away. This is a fundamental shift in how you relate to yourself, a commitment to being your own ally rather than your own adversary. It asks you to bring patience and persistence to the practice. It asks you to be willing to feel uncomfortable sometimes, to sit with emotions that you have spent years trying to avoid. But I promise you, this path leads to a freedom that is worth every uncomfortable moment. It leads to a life where you are no longer at war with yourself, where you can breathe fully, where you can show up authentically, where you can experience the full beauty and depth of being human. Right now, in this moment, you can choose to honor yourself with compassion. You can notice what you are feeling and say yes to it. You can place a hand on your heart and offer yourself kindness. You can take a breath and soften the places that are holding tight. You can remind yourself that you are doing beautifully, that you are exactly where you need to be, that every emotion you feel is a sign of your aliveness, your sensitivity, your deep capacity to experience life. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are not failing because you feel things deeply. You are gloriously, wonderfully, courageously human, and your emotions, every single one of them, are sacred messengers that deserve your love, your attention, your compassion. Honor them, welcome them, let them teach you, and watch as your entire life begins to transform from the inside out